just a couple of days ago, we had a pretty cool trailer that dropped online that I watched on my phone a bunch of times. I watched it on my computer. I watched it on my TV. And we thought, how cool would it be to watch it on the big screen with all of you guys here at Wondercon? Does that sound good? All right, you guys. We got a little something for you from Justice League. And of course, we got to see Wonder Woman in that trailer. But what do you guys say to seeing, you know, like a little bit more Wonder Woman? Does that sound good? Yeah? All right, well, I think we got a little something for you guys. Here is a Wonder Woman clip for you. Up here, they're gonna talk all things Wonder Woman for you. First up, I would like to welcome to the stage executive producer Jeff Johns. Give him a round of applause. And joining him up here, we've got the director, Patty Jenkins. Yeah! I'm gonna leave this in their capable hands to talk about Wonder Woman, but towards the end, you guys get ready because we are gonna take some fan questions as well. So are you guys ready to take over?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm passing over my hosting duties, Jeff. Ready?
Yes, great room. Thanks everybody for coming. We're super excited to be here. So you guys just saw some clips of Wonder Woman and we're going to talk about it. And first I wanted to say everybody that's a Wonder Woman fan, including myself, we're unbelievably lucky to have Patty Jenkins behind this movie.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is no one that has more passion, the talent, the voice behind it, the work you put into it. It's an amazing movie, and we're really lucky to have you with Wonder Woman. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you all for the chance to be the person who gets to do this. And I just have to say, I've been so lucky since the first day I ever met on this movie or or a DC movie to have Jeff Johns there as the person who I really shared a vision with and was a great partner throughout. So, great part of DC.
So we're going to start by, and I want to give a shout out to one of our producers, Chuck Robin, who's here somewhere. I don't know where.
One of the greatest producers of all time.
Yes, but
the greatest.
Wherever you are, Chuck, he's always around. His shadow looms over everybody. Yeah. Trust me. Yeah. But Chuck is amazing, and he really was a huge part of this, a great creative partner.
He made this possible.
So first off, Patty, I thought you could talk about why you were so excited about telling her origin story and going back to the basic story of Diana, who's the daughter of the Queen of the Amazons on this island. And it's her story of her leaving the island and coming to our world. Why the origin story to you is so important to tell?
Well, I mean, I love a superhero origin story just because I think that the birth of superheroes for all of us, for many of us, is the idea of being a child or being a person who connects with these kinds of characters who end up getting the opportunity to make a difference in the world and be powerful. And so that was something I'd always wanted to be a part of because ever since, some of you have heard me talk about, like when I was 7 years old and Superman 1 came out, I couldn't believe the effect that movie had on me, and I was Superman. It didn't matter who I was, and it didn't matter where I was that little boy who ripped his shirt, who picked up a car, and I was the Superman who ripped his shirt open. I was that character who faced those challenges and felt human. And so, I'm a big believer in the tradition of using these stories as a way to explore every single kind of person's hopes and dreams for being a better person and a more powerful person in the world and making a great choice when they get that chance. And then when it comes to Wonder Woman, I mean, it's Wonder Woman. She's one of my favorite superheroes, my favorite superhero, but she also is one of the biggest, most well-known classic superheroes of the genre. And the fact that nobody had gotten to make her origin story, first of all, it's so important that every superhero get their day and their origin story, and hers is beautiful and wonderful and one that deserved to be told. And so I'm just so honored to get to do it.
Yeah, I think one of the things I know we talked a lot about was the essence of the character of who Diana is, and DC. The essence of DC is really heart, humor, and heroics. Yeah. Those three H's. And with Diana in particular, she embodies all that and more. When you were kind of conceptualizing all these training scenes, because you were very specific on how much training Diana should have, why did you feel it was so important to have Diana go through this rigorous training she does in the movie?
Because Diana is a special character. She has special powers, and she's obviously, given, all of those things. But also, she wants to be a hero, and that kind of training is integral to her learning the skills that she needs to not just be a superpowered person, but to be somebody who understands what it is to fight and how it is to fight and what the rules of fighting are. And I think that that's something that we often get to see superheroes learn their skills, but there's a great tradition in most kinds of fighting and martial arts and boxing and MMA and anything, of like learning the honor and the restraints and the discipline of fighting. And so I thought that was a wonderful thing about her, is that she's a fighter. She's a trained fighter. She's not only a special superhuman person, but she's a trained fighter with all of the respect and longevity that comes with.
Yeah, I would say she's the best fighter in the DC universe.
She should be, and
Yeah.
that's what she, that's who she's meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I was on the floor earlier today, and this little girl wanted a picture, and when we got a picture, she did this.
Oh,
And
so
it's
great.
so universal, and I think that just like Superman kind of has his hands on his hips,
Yeah.
that this is going to become
Yeah.
more prevalent throughout
Yeah.
fandom, which is awesome.
I love it.
And of the Amazons that do train her, we've got Connie Nielsen as her mother, the Queen of the Amazons, and Robin Wright as Antiope, her aunt.
Yep.
Do you want to talk Greatest Warrior on Themyscira?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
want
I mean, I loved the world of the Themyscira and the Amazons, and the fact that they have freed themselves from enslavement of man, which meant that at one point they had to become incredibly fierce badasses to free themselves and get themselves where they did. And that's such an incredible story to be told of who they are. And then from that point on, of course, they're going to have various different points of view about how to move forward. As anybody would. And so I loved the fact that Hippolyta had been one of the fiercest, most amazing warriors and most courageous, but yet she has decided to believe that maybe they will never have to go back and they can stay on this island forever. Whereas Antiope knows that it may very well not last, and they need to stay vigilant in training and on top of their skills. And so there's a collision as far as what they should be doing and how they should be approaching the world in Diana, who very much wants to be as great of a warrior as they were, but doesn't have the experience to know the great darkness and responsibility that comes with it, gets caught in the middle of the crossfire of the two of them, one who wants to protect her from that, and one who knows that you can never protect anyone from the truth of the world. And so watching that storyline play out is such a great part. And it's classic coming of age story. Your parents want you to succeed in the world, but they're also afraid for the dings and the hits that they know you're going to get once you get out there.
Yeah, but there's a purity in Diana still when she can't stand by while innocent lives are lost. She says it, which makes her heroic. And again, the definition of a DC hero, particularly Wonder Woman, I know we talked a lot about throughout the whole process, the elements of compassion, love, but with strength and power. Like, to you, what is the essence? You want to tell everybody what the essence of the character is, why this character is so, I think, unique and different than every other superhero out there.
You know, she's not the only character who has a strong moral compass and a belief system, of course, but what I like about her is that is her mission. Her mission is a belief of mankind and what they can be, and it's a moral belief system. And so, you know, I feel like there are a lot of superheroes who are chosen and find themselves in these positions, or are normal people and find themselves in these positions, or want to stop crime or save people or things. But she's one of the very few who believes in goodness and kindness and justice and love, who comes to our world hoping to instill that in other people, but is willing to use force if that's what she must do to keep mankind safe. And so I just think it's so interesting and such a unique perspective to have a character who really is so strong and powerful, but yet essentially is all about love and truth and forgiveness and kindness and compassion. And like, what a great role model for all of us of like, how do you save the world? Like, well, you have to think for yourself at every moment and try to be a better person, and none of that means you're not just as strong and powerful as the next person.
Yeah, I think the inspiration, yes, exactly right. The inspiration she brings too throughout the film and all those around her is inspiring, that the best superheroes, and again, particularly DC, the best superheroes inspire us to do the best we can and help others with whatever we have, whether we can fly or whether we are just normal human beings.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about the diversity of superheroes. And one of the reasons when people will say, like, is the superhero craze gonna die? Or whatever, and I always think like, it's so much bigger than that. It's not about superheroes. It's about, this is the method of universal storytelling that we have, all people have, that is not of one religion and of one thing, that America ended up inventing as a way to tell these metaphors about all different kinds of states of being. So to me, they're the same as the Greek myth or the Roman myth or the, or religious figures of every religion. These are our common characters that we use to express stories about being a better person or what you would do if you were faced with various things. And so for me, how could that's an incredibly powerful thing. There's a million movies to be told with common characters.
Okay, that's why I love her so much.
we share that.
That's awesome. So what would be really cool, and I'm really psyched, is we'll show some other stuff maybe from the movie.
All right.
Why not? That's so fun.
Oh man, we had so much fun doing that because we were like, how do we do a little homage to that movie that we love so much? And what's hilarious about it when it's stay back, shking, And so it was super fun to do.
Yeah, and I think it also defined in a great way Steve Trevor and Diana's relationship as it continues off of Themyscira and onto Man's World. That balance it's a tough, tricky balance. But you see him, he's starting to learn, like, stand back or maybe not.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that he's a super badass, but he's also like, well, maybe that's
yeah, go for it. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you want to tell them a little bit about how you and you approached this with Diana and Steve? How you, because I thought talking about the relationship and how it progressed throughout the film, this was a key part of that. It
really was. I mean, we wanted Steve Trevor to be the greatest version of Steve Trevor we could ever think of, which is, we're sort of basing him on Indiana Jones. He's like a super tough guy, but he's also self-deprecating and a little world-weary and a little tired and like, oh, he doesn't believe anything's possible. Now you collide that with Wonder Woman, with young Wonder Woman who's like, oh, you'll see it is possible. You're gonna see what's gonna happen. He's like, okay, that's great. I like you a lot, And then you start putting him in these situations where they have a great sense of humor and they have a great dynamic between the two of them. But in context, it's what makes a scene like this so enjoyable is that she's been telling him for many scenes going back, like, oh yeah, it's gonna be no problem. I'm gonna do all kinds of things. And he's like, okay, sure. And then does this, and he's kind of like, okay. And so they kind of, it's their worldviews, like any great love story, but also like any, they're the perfect embodiment of any great story of a superhero and man's world, which is that, and not unlike oftentimes superhero and their earthly counterpart, whoever it is, where it's like there's a worldliness to the counterpart, but then that person's perspective is changed by this superhero, just as they learn from them about the world.
Yeah, the learning process between both of them is, I think, part of the fun of the movie.
Yeah.
Again, like the heart, humor, and heroics is built into Steve, like really. And Chris, I think it's the best performance he's ever done.
Yeah.
You got out of him by far.
Oh,
you want to talk about working with him because that was so awesome.
Well, he's one of the greatest actors I have ever worked with. He is so skilled and wonderful and funny, just such a talented guy. And so I think he really, he came alive, and we all came alive in this environment where he genuinely, he was genuinely experiencing that dynamic of like, wow, look at her, Jesus, that's nice, she's incredible, look at what she can do. But he's also brings so much to the party and is so funny. And and he actually he brings a performance that I think is stunning to this film, because he does something so tricky, where he brings all the comic relief and a wonderful love story and an incredible thing, but he also ends up really symbolizing all of the depth of man. And he has Chris has those skills to call upon, and when we needed it, we were able to go somewhere pretty incredible with him. I think it's a stunning performance.
Yeah, it's unbelievably nuanced.
Yeah, for right now, even the way I've heard it talked about, they're sort of like, oh, he's the sidekick, he's whatever, just wait. It's a stunning performance, and she gives a stunning performance, and the two of them together really gave an incredible dramatic performance and comedic.
Yeah. You talk about Superman the movie. We've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
But another film that you talk about is Casablanca.
Yeah.
And how important the emotional heart of that, a movie like that,
yeah,
influenced your take on this too.
Yeah, I mean, we set out how do any of these films work? It's wonderful to bring something new that is not something people have been doing. And so I was excited about the idea of going for grand classic cinema, just grand love story, that nothing about the love story makes it lesser, doesn't make it, doesn't relegate it to being a rom-com or anything. It's just got a grand love story at its core, and that love story embodies and acts out all of the real issues of the time, and that's where Casablanca comes in. It's because Casablanca is a great love story, but why? Why is it a great love story? Because it's about this period of time and the real politics and the real struggle and decisions that were being made within them, and that's what we went for here.
And the emotion you feel when you see these characters and their journey in this, I think is unbelievably powerful. I always cry still. So we talked about some funny stuff. We saw some funny. Let's see some badass stuff, because Wonder Woman's also badass. So maybe we'll show you guys something else too, just to balance that out. We all want to do that. I want to do that constantly. That was awesome. It's so much fun to watch it with you guys, because we watch it in an editing room or a screening room with the same people over. We love watching it with you, Chuck, but it's really fun to watch it with these people too. With fans. It's so much fun to show you guys this stuff. Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. And for your support. And so many of you have been, I think that there was a world and a time when people didn't believe that, every superhero was going to have their day in court, and this audience and these kinds of people, all of you all have been instrumental in why we got to make this movie. So thank you all.
Thank you. Do you want to talk to them a little bit about how the action all came together? Because that's just a piece of the action in the whole film. There's a lot more.
Yeah. I think that what was fun, certainly every story considers this, I'm sure, but what was fun about this action was that I really cared about doing it all as a character piece. So the entire movie is really a character story and a character journey, and so every time we got to an action scene, it clarifies what it is, because it's all from the point of view of Diana. It's not about stepping back and watching action for action's sake or anything. It's here she is, and here's her journey, and here's what she's seeing, and here's how that affects her. So it was a fun way to approach it, because it always gave such a very strong understanding of how we should go about it. And within there, of course, there's, well, then what shot, and what, this and that, and what kind of room, and whatever it is. But it made it, what was interesting is somebody asked me the other day, they're like, was there a lot of talk about what was too much and what was too little? And there wasn't. No. From day one, her action pieces, Jeff and I were deeply involved in trying to break this story and all of the different beats of what we were going to try to do with what those other guys had broken and passed on. And so I think what was great about it is that the action that we ended up taking on came totally naturally, which is, oh, well, now she's going to be training and do these things, and then a battle comes to their shore, and you're watching that battle from Diana's point of view. As you see, battle is way more intense than you ever could have imagined. And then it's hard won as she makes her way to man's world, and by the time she finally gets to where she can do something, she's dying to do something because she hasn't been able to find an outlet. So it really came quite naturally, and was just the right amount of oh, well, then that moment in her story is over. Now we go back to the story until we get to the next chapter. But it's like it all came pretty It all really fell into that story.
Organic.
Yeah, it's very organic.
Yeah, it wasn't like, hey, let's do an action scene here.
Yeah, we're overdo an action scene. I mean, that just never happens.
No, that was cool.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna take. Oh,
Hi.
you are. You're here.
We're getting kicked off.
I was like, you guys are having such good chat.
I know. We
Like, how do
can
I
be up
see
here
you
for an
guys?
hour. Sorry.
We love hearing you guys talk about it, but I know that we have some fans who have some questions for both of you guys. So there's a microphone right in the center. If you've got questions, just come on up. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Tony.
Hi, Tony. What's your question?
Hi, how's it going? Being that DC goes against the grain and takes risks, do you feel a certain pressure or weight to bring this character to light?
You know, yes, being the person who gets to make a movie about Wonder Woman is of course I take that incredibly seriously, but I am a huge Wonder Woman fan. So the aspiration of her having a great film comes totally naturally to me. You know, nothing about DC or nothing about the world or nothing about anything could change that pressure, because I want to make great films in my lifetime, and I really want to make a great film about Wonder Woman. So I went into it knowing like, wow, this is a great thing, but who should make a great movie about Wonder Woman? Well, it should be somebody who loves Wonder Woman, and I know that I'm that. So let's go and try, you know? And so there you go. We did our best, and yeah, we took it seriously.
Yeah, I'd say the responsibility, it's really a responsibility to the character, because it's Wonder Woman, you know, one of the most iconic superheroes in the world, certainly the most iconic female superhero ever. But when you work with people like Patty, you know, and Chuck and everybody else who loves the character and understands the character, and you can hear, I think, again, that's why I thank God for Patty, because she understands the emotional essence of who Diane is. So as soon as that happens, then you just worry about making a great film. That extra pressure of, oh my God, it's Wonder Woman, dissolves when you work with people that all love the character, and that's the key. We got to work with people that love the character.
I think it definitely comes across, especially for all of us fans. Like, even seeing you guys up there, I'm like, Patty's Wonder Woman, and as Jeff's talking, I'm like, Jeff's also Wonder Woman, and everyone just has such an excitement about this character, and it comes across when you guys talk about it, which I love so much. I think we have time for one or two more questions. What's your name?
My name's Josh.
Hi, Josh.
And my question is, since a Wonder Woman movie was in development since the 90s, what made the producers confident at this point in Patty's direction of the story before production began?
Well, I'd say, I mean, the 90s I was still in school, so I don't remember what they were doing or who was working on it. I can just speak from my experience being at DC for the years that I have been now, and then when I came on board to work on all the films and working with Chuck and Zach and Dab and John Berg, I'll get a little shout out for John Berg. I like that. My partner in crime. All the other great people at Warner Bros. that you know, Diane Nelson, Kevin Zujihara, Toby Emmerich now. There was never when I was there, nobody ever said, maybe we shouldn't do a Wonder Woman movie. And I give a lot of credit to the studio for having the appetite to say, we're doing a Wonder Woman movie, let's make a Wonder Woman movie. And then once Patty came into the mix, and we heard the take, and it all came together, it was all full speed ahead. So in my time at Warner Brothers, and at DC, there was never a question about it. Now, as a fan in the 90s, I would read the same articles you guys would, like, you know, someone says a female superhero lead won't work, which I find ridiculous, and this movie proves it wrong. You'll never hear that again.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. Appropriately costumed Superman.
Hi, my question is for both John and Patty. Considering Wonder Woman's never been done before, and there's a whole history of her, how close do you have to stay to the source material versus how much you're changing for a new generation of Wonder Woman fans? Oh, and John, confirm Woman 2, please.
What's that?
Can you confirm Wonder Woman 2, please?
We can't confirm it.
That was a very good effort right there at the very end. I appreciate it.
What was the question?
Now
now I'm thinking about Wonder Woman 2. I'm like,
Oh yeah. I can answer. I think that it's incredibly important to stay true to the lore. Incredibly important, and particularly to the original, story. However, that was a comic book, and that was a small issue of a comic book, so you have to make changes. And even as time has marched on, you have to expand and make changes. So many people have come along and brought wonderful things to her story and expanded and changed certain details of her story. But really, I feel like we ended up trying to always stay true to the original Wonder Woman and who she was and what was wonderful about her, but then take a little bit of the best from many other places that help to tell the story, and then we have to take it forward. There are going to be things that are absolutely, like in a way, this is another comic book, because we have to invent new things and new details to tell that story, just as that comic book would. Every story requires its own nuances.
Yeah, and I'd also say that like the big elements of there's kind of two parts to this when we talk about it, right? There's the Themyscira, the Magic Lasso, the Amazons, Steve Trevor, going to man's world. All of that is canon. That is stuff that to us is kind of immutable. It cannot change. We're gonna gravitate around those, and it's kind of like talking to people, say, well, why does she have to be from an island? Well, why does Superman have to be from Krypton? It's the same argument. Like so. So there's stuff that just we're going to do because that's what the character is, and that's what we want to hold on to is all those elements. Then at the same time, you have to balance the emotional essence, the invisibility to the character. There's an invisibility to these characters that you've got to put on screen. The fact that Diane is compassionate, the fact that she will help those that can't help themselves, the fact that she's driven on her mission to try and bring peace to our world. All those are the same kind of immutables, but they're invisible immutables. So we got to take all of that, put it together, and then kind of craft the best film and the best screenplay and the best story we can for the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
But we've really pulled from all the comics, obviously the original ones, all the original comics, George Perez, all his books, that was a big influence. But yeah, New 52, Greg Rucka, Phil Jimenez. There's been a ton of. It's kind of endless. There's so many great creators that have worked on the comics, and we look at all those comics and kind of you're panning for gold, and you're just getting gold every time.
And our own Alan Heinberg, who's the one who wrote the script, which was wonderful,
yeah.
Because he ended up being, he's a Wonder Woman writer as well. So
yeah.
All of us were really, wanted to stay true and incorporate as much as we could.
Yeah.
Well, I think just hearing the two of them talk about it today, Wonder Woman is in the best hands that it could possibly be in. Thank you guys all so much for coming out. Thank you so much, Dr. Patty, for coming to talk with us today. Give them a huge round of applause, you guys. And make sure that you are ready to go see Wonder Woman in theaters on June 2nd. Thank you guys so much. That's it for the Warner Brothers panel. Have a great